Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the first of a series of the DPA CSI videos. So CSI represents a country stability index. This is the entirely unique to Defense Politics Asia. Only we have it because I developed it just over the past 2-3 weeks. So this will help us to put things into context, and this will help us not get fooled by all the narrative that is put out by the mainstream media, because we usually don't see the big picture when we see the headlines. So anyway, so before I go into the details of Singapore, the headline is that a headline coming out from Singapore. Singapore will be removing most of the COVID-19 restrictions, barring mask wearing indoors from tomorrow, April 26th. So the DORSCON, which is a unique colored system to see how bad is an outbreak of disease, will be dropped from orange to yellow. And the vaccinated travelers, this is the most good news to most of the world, is that vaccinated travelers coming to Singapore will no longer need to take COVID tests. So, according to The Star, which is a Malaysian newspaper, they have reported this. Singapore will scrap most of the COVID-19 restrictions, and there's a lot of the things are all removed, like group size and 100% returning of employees to workplace and all sort of whatnot. I don't think you're interested, and also this is the Ministry of Health Singapore. And there's a step down to DORSCON yellow, as well as measures on the border measures that they will allow fully vaccinated travelers to not require tests to enter Singapore. So this is a really good news in terms of tourism and returning back to normal in Singapore. So what is Singapore? You might be wondering, so why do I cover Singapore first? Because there are comments are saying that since I'm from Singapore, I should start from Singapore, and I think this is maybe a good start, because Singapore is usually a really high bar for any country to follow, and it's like a paradise of sorts, if you don't mind a very a little bit of oppression from a little bit of authoritarianism from our majority government. A good 90% of the seats go to just one party, but there's no corruption involved. The elections are legit. The party is really that popular in Singapore. A good 60% of the population actually votes for them. So but because it's once you get more than 50%, or you get the most votes, you win the election. So despite only 66% of the people likes the party, they get like 90% of the seats. So Singapore is just 5.4 million people in a very small island, but the fertility rate is rather low. It's only 1.1. Life expectancy is rather long, is at 83.9. So our people is going to continue to live longer and longer. We're probably going to become immortals in no time. But we have this tremendous high average income. Please note, this is average. This is not median income, but average means you have the very rich people pulling this entire income upwards. So I think the median is around 4,000, around there, around 4,000 per month, and which is actually still rather high. So if you're wondering, there's no such race called Singaporean race. We are actually a mix of different races: Chinese, Malay, and Indian, as the majority. Most of us is actually Chinese. A big majority, 60 to 70%, and then the other 15 to 15 Malay, around 10 to 15 Indian, and then we have a lot of other different ethnicities. But the main one is this Chinese, Malay, Indian. So language spoken is English or Singlish. because these two kind of mix around. Like sometimes when you listen the way I talk, you get confused because I speak in Singlish, so that's a little confusing for you. I understand. And then we also speak Mandarin because of Chinese population, Malay of the Malay population. There's a lot of Chinese dialects, which is the original Chinese language. Mandarin is actually a very new introduction over the past 100 years because it's mostly spoken by northern China, but because of the unification of China, and then they introduced Mandarin as the neutral language in China so that it's fair to all the major powerhouse within China at that time. So if not, then most of the Chinese here is actually Southern Chinese. So we actually speak Cantonese, Hokkien, Teochew, and a variety of other dialects, but mostly these few. So, and then we have Tamil, of course, for the Indians, because most of the Indians here are from South India, from Tamil Nadu. So that's why Tamil is the main Indian language here. The religion is also Buddhism, Christianity, Islam, Taoism, Hinduism. So Taoism, if you're not sure, this is not some magic thing. This is just Chinese folk religion. If you want to understand, it's a Chinese folk religion. So this is the overall overview of what Singapore is. So what is the stability situation in Singapore? So Singapore is extremely safe. So there is no terrorism, no insurgency. Definitely, we are not oppressed. There's no war. There's actually no leadership crisis at this moment. The current leader is Mr. Lee Hsien Loong, the Prime Minister, and there is no political dialogue. As I mentioned, the People's Action Party, the main party, actually dominates the parliament, and there's no elections is extremely transparent and extremely fair. There is literally no situation that we can get into like the one that happened in United States, because our ballots are all paper form. So paper election definitely is safe. And I forgot to tell you guys to press like button, so please help me press the like button. And as I continue, authoritarianism or dictatorship isn't really that much. You can put it in, but it's not exactly the case nowadays. Singapore used to be more towards a dictatorship or an authoritarianism kind of government, maybe around 30 years ago, when it was ruled by Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, Mr. Lee Hsien Loong's father. So after Lee Kuan Yew stepped down, he handed over the prime ministership to Mr. Goh Chok Tong, and then after Goh Chok Tong passed on to Lee Hsien Loong. So there is since Lee Kuan Yew stepped down, it really ceased to become a dictatorship of sort. So the government is very good. There is no high crime. Crime is extremely low. So let me show you the crime rate in Singapore is all the way down. It's here. Rank 113 is extremely low. So there's literally no protest. Singapore society do not believe in protests, and thus there wouldn't be riots. We almost never go into a state of emergency. And so don't even talk about the two more serious one. So economically, Singapore have very low unemployment rate. So Singapore unemployment rate is at 2.4%, which is extremely low by any measure. So this tree is on unemployment. So these three icons are all faded. So GDP growth, Singapore actually have a really strong GDP growth in 2021, which is 7.1 more, almost like 7.1% or 7.2% in 2021. So this is coming on the back of a very strong performance over, I think, electronics, semiconductors. I think also something to do with medical devices, because Singapore is within the ones of those countries that actually develop some of the medical stuff, but not a lot. mostly in terms of electronic and semiconductors. So no negative GDP growth. We have no fuel crisis, no food crisis, no energy crisis, because the government seems to do a really good job to make sure that supplies continue to come, and having a strong reserves help. So inflation rate in Singapore is currently at 4.3% in February. That's the latest information. So 4.3% haven't above 5, and that's pretty much still under control. Inflation is across the board, all around the world is happening now, and it's actually rather high. So any countries that are not ready to handle it actually will get damaged by it. Singapore do not have a low foreign exchange reserve situation. In fact, the foreign exchange situation is extremely healthy. The central bank said that it transferred 75 billion Singapore dollars worth of 55.14 billion of foreign reserve to the government. And despite this transfer, the foreign reserve still is at 95% of the GDP. So this is extremely high, and is way beyond the threshold that I'm tracking, which is 3 months of imports, 3 months of total import cost. So this is faded. Singapore also do not have a low gold reserve situation. Singapore have a lot of gold reserve, and in 2021, also last year in November, I think Singapore have predicted the craziness that is going to happen in 2022 that we are looking at right now. They actually increased the gold reserve by 20%. So Singapore bought 26.35 metric tons, so bloating the entire gold reserve to 153.76 tons of gold, and that is actually a lot. So that is around 26.65 metric tons per million people. So that's actually very healthy. For me to rate it as a low gold reserve, for this to light up, you need to be under 1 metric ton per million population. So Singapore is well protected in that sense. However, Singapore have a very high national debt. It's at 155% actually, 155% of the GDP, and this is I can show you the number. So in terms of Singapore, the national debt, the latest is actually at 777 billion Singapore dollars. So the reason why it's so high, being Singaporean, I can understand, is because Singapore actually operates this thing called the Central Provident Fund, so the CPF. So this Central Provident Fund is actually operates in another country. It would actually looks a lot like a universal income tax of sort. So it's like a 15% or something or more, which have to be contributed by the employer and the employee. So in terms of employee, you get like 15% of your salary get chopped off and actually enters into the CPF. So this is like in other country, it looks like a universal income tax. It very much operates like one, but the money that go into this fund will actually be used as the social welfare fund for you. So which is kind of ingenious in the sense that the country will never spend more money on social welfare than it needs to. So because you yourself, the citizen, funds all your own social welfare. For example, buying public housing, healthcare in terms of the old age healthcare, and some retirement funds, all will be funded. All these social programs actually will be social welfare programs will be funded by yourself, essentially. So the government do from time to time actually put in more money into the CPF for us, and then it actually use the money to reinvest into something else. So it actually provides an interest as well to fight against inflation. So it's a rather ingenious thing. So but as the result, because essentially the government technically loan the money from the citizen because of this, because this is not like a real universal income tax. It's actually like a loan, because it's going to go 100% back to the citizen as social welfare. So as a result, it's seen as a loan, and then government actually take this loan, this money loan from the citizens to invest in other things like, maybe government spendings, or I don't know. So I don't know what they do with the CPF actually. That's actually a national secret of sort. So they just say they reinvest the money. So as a result, there is this high national debt. So this is actually very misleading. But so a lot of countries or a lot of foreigners who do not understand Singapore that well actually see this as a negative thing. They actually see, wow, Singapore borrows so much money. Actually, Singapore don't borrow so much money. They actually just take the citizens' money to reinvest, and then they will return back to the citizen as social welfare. So that's what is this highlighting about. But still, to be fair, it's still high national debt. So -5 for Singapore, and otherwise, Singapore is perfect. 95 upon 100. There is really nothing much to complain about Singapore. And this is the country stability index for Singapore. So if you still have not pressed the like button, I would highly recommend you to press the like button. And if you are not subscribed to my channel, to Defense Politics Asia, you should subscribe, because there will be more of these things coming up, or this CSI, all the different countries, and then you'll be all on a map. You'll be all on the map. And then soon you'll be able to access this map, and then you'll be able to actually compare the numbers and the stability between different countries. And then I think you'll find the comparison in relative term very interesting. So do check out Singapore. Do come and visit Singapore. You do not need to take COVID test as long as you are vaccinated. And I will see you in the next update.